Okay, this guy says he wants a custom king on the throne, but he doesn't know how to mix a unit in a building. Well, guess what? I do know how to mix a unit in a building. So here we are. Let's try it. Let's put this paladin. Here's a paladin. We're going to put this guy sitting on some kind of throne. So the guy said a building, but then what he didn't point out is that technically the throne is a doodad. So I don't know if he actually wants a throne, but I'm going to use this doodad browser and I'm going to get a throne just for the sake of example. Here's a throne, here's a paladin. So what I would usually do to put a paladin on a throne would be file import. Now an interesting thing about this throne is you would think maybe I import the paladin onto the throne so that he's standing on it. And actually, it's probably easier if you don't do that, because this kind of points out maybe what is important to consider is whose animations are you using? Is this going to be a unit in the game, or is this going to be a building in the game? Because if this is going to be a unit in the game, then maybe you want to just have the paladin's animations with a picture of a throne under him, right? And so that's as simple as we can just go in here, select the entire throne. In fact, you don't even need to drag a box, just Control A, just select the entire throne. Control C to copy it, and then go back to the paladin, put your mouse underneath him basically, and then Control V to paste it. And now you have this guy basically on a throne. And in these tools across the top here, this one, this select cluster, could be used to just pretty much get almost the entire throne at a time. So you can be dragging around the throne to be under his feet, so that now he's on the throne. But this thing still has attack and walk animations, and so you have to think about do you want a paladin that sort of has all the animation data of a paladin, but he's standing on a throne? Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you actually want a throne with just the throne animations, just a stand, just this really passive thing with just a picture of a guy on it. You could do that. I guess you said about a building, so what about a farm? A farm has more animations than a throne. A farm has birth, stand, death, and these other types of things. So maybe you want the paladin on the farm to be standing when the farm is standing, and then do death when the farm dies, or something like that. You can do that, and if you want to do that, I might just open Paladin again to get a clean copy. So now I have the farm and the paladin. You can do an import from workspace if you want that kind of more complex combining of stuff. And so import the paladin down here, onto the farm. And so in these views that we get, I break everything into these 6 parts when I'm importing. And it's basically the 3D data, how it animates, how it moves. So this animations are the timeline, sort of the sequences, really. Bones are kind of how it moves. Matrices are the linkings, stuff we don't even really have to change. And objects are metadata about attachment points, which maybe we don't even care about attachment points. I mean, if this is just some building, you don't need any of that, right? So we can just leave all on the objects. There's no attachment points. Bones, maybe we just leave it all the same. I guess if you want, you could try to find the paladin, the root node of the paladin here, helper root, and try to put this on maybe main beam of the farm or something. So if the farm falls over, the paladin will fall over with it, hopefully. And then you have geosets. So geoset's pretty much just all this data of the paladin. I mean, maybe if you want to not bring over the glow, so he's not glowing on a farm, we could bring the glow. We'll just have the whole guy on there. Then animation, you could just leave all and just pick some animation you really like stand, and then put that in there. And you know what? Maybe for a guy standing on a farm, if he's supposed to be sitting on a throne, maybe you'd have a sit animation. I don't have that. But we do have stand channel where he holds his paladin hammer up. Maybe we could stand channel on top of the farm. So that sounds pretty good. If you want to have the paladin die along with the farm, you can do death at the same time. We could just assume that for these other animations, well, okay, interesting point. Portrait. When the portrait camera of the farm, maybe we want the paladin doing his stand channel in that too. So that looks pretty good. So we set that up in there, and that's just from those animation clicks. And then there's just this visibility section. And the visibility section is a little bit more complex again. It's trying to control, if the farm is playing its decay animation, is the paladin still floating above it, or does he disappear? If you need him to disappear, basically you just select these paladin geosets and just say existing animations, farm animations that don't have equivalent paladin data, just not visible, just hide him. If you do that, and then you click finish down here, now we have probably a paladin on this farm. But it kind of looks like I might have messed it up. So let's take a look. You know, sometimes maybe if you're like me, if you make mistakes, things could go wrong. So I'm trying to get the Paladin data here. I just toggled off all the geosets and toggled on the Paladin geosets because I was trying to see my Paladin currently is underneath the farm, which is kind of silly. We want him up in the air. We want him on top of the farm, you know, like up here. He's going to be standing on it. But it seems to be that during stand, he's not actually animating. I'm not sure why that is, because it seems like something actually broke. So one of the things I'm going to try to do is make Paladin on farm as like a model. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So some code change recently must have messed with the preview after import, and sometimes saving resets the data. That's kind of bad. That's a new bug, and I don't like bugs like that. I should fix that. So you can see now I fixed it, so he's doing what I wanted, but I had to save the file first immediately after the import to kind of make some stuff load through that hadn't already resolved, which is dumb. Older versions, if this is the 4.5 experimental version of Render Model Studio, if you're using like 4.4, I don't think you would have that problem. Yeah, so anyway, you can see now like decay, the Paladin is not there, like death. I guess, so in the death animation, the farm, like the farm doesn't actually sink in the ground, so the Paladin's falling over in the sky right now, which is a little bit weird, but you could mess with that if you wanted to fix it. So yeah, that's like how you'd put a Paladin on a farm. I guess the other thing I might do, if it was me, if I had a throne and I just wanted to put this Paladin on the throne, I might go in here, import the Paladin to the throne. If I was going to be a doodad, so this guy's question, the way he directly asked it, was how would you put like this Paladin on the throne in terms of the technology, like on a building, like how would you put it on a building like I did with the farm. But when I imagine myself doing this, realistically I kind of feel like I would probably go in here, dump the Paladin into this this throne. Here I'm going to say this is Paladin throne, make sure we fix that bug that probably going to edit the code later to make that unnecessary. But so really, basically, what I would probably do if this was me, I would go in here to the animation editor. So that's, you know, it started in kind of this vertex editor kind of thing. I'm going up here to select nodes and animate, and then by raising the footer, we can see this little utility button in the corner, which should probably make that not work like that and always display, but whatever. Sometimes we gotta zoom in, you know, adjust the panels so we can see all the buttons. So it's a free program, right? Nobody's paying me. The Paladin over here now has this throne, but he doesn't actually look like he's sitting. And so that's probably the other thing I would do if I was going to actually put something like this in a map for me. I would probably just have some fun and try to go to here where you can sort of see the Paladin, and then try to say like, okay, so here is the Paladin leg node. And you'll notice if we rotate it, he would do that. But if you use the squat tool, it'll rotate the node and then rotate things after it opposite. So you can effectively like rotate, I guess it's not really doing what I wanted there. Maybe if you rotate these, yeah, you can rotate, so you sort of like rotate his legs, but then it rotates opposite for everything after it, and so he sort of ends up sitting where the lower portions of his leg just kind of remain. So you could do that as an option, and if we do that, and we kind of lean him back a little bit that way, and we might also, you know, I mean, maybe the rest of him here is kind of like something you could lean up, so he's kind of tilted up a little. Maybe his head would kind of lean still forward a little or something like that, and you know, maybe his arms would kind of be out, like resting. And this is probably where you make some decision, like maybe he shouldn't have a hammer, or maybe the hammer would be sitting somewhere else on some other thing. But basically, through a little bit of moving around your Paladin guy, you might be able to get to where he's not only like there, but maybe he's actually, you know, like sitting on this thing, you know, which I feel like would be the other way to do this, to try to get him in, like, posed into a sitting pose on your throne. And obviously, now his whole center. So maybe this is where, like, I don't know, do I squat tool him up a little bit? And maybe somebody would say like, hey, you know, it kind of doesn't make sense. Like we should do some translation, which I usually hesitate to do translation. A lot of times rotation looks really good in these things, but yeah, maybe we raise them up a little bit, try to make it center and not look squashed. Yeah, you know, and maybe somebody would say, okay, so then shouldn't we also rotate his cape probably so that that would kind of rotate in, you know, maybe try to curl it or something. So it's behind him. But yeah, you do something like that, and I don't know, maybe his hammer should be not where it is. Let's see, is this the hammer? Yeah, this is the hammer. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe you want to put the hammer like resting on the back of the chair or something. I don't know. However you would imagine that he would do that. Maybe he would have it to his side, kind of like this, but maybe not. I don't know. I wonder. Maybe it would be longwise, just like resting on top of the throne. That might make sense. You know, kind of like that. And you can see, I'm just tilting it a little bit, kind of tweaking it, you know. And probably the last thing that you would want to do would be to go to one of these nodes, like maybe the center of the paladin here. Probably use squat tool so it kind of auto completes, but see if you could make him lean forward a little bit so that in his animation he's actually kind of like leaning, and then he, you know, he's almost like he's breathing a little bit so he looks more human. And I feel like you could do that. And if you save this as like your paladin throne, maybe you want to save it as paladin throne 2. That seems like that would be pretty fun. Maybe the one other thing that you could do would be to go to like the glows, make those bigger, and like under the throne or something, so he kind of has this look to him, like, you know, like the glow is like not a part of him necessarily. Keep in mind, I guess you need to stay above the ground so you can see it, but as long as you do that, probably fine. Yeah, so it's kind of like the whole throne is glowing. I mean, I feel like that could look pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't have the game open right now to go put this in game, but yeah, something like that, right? And so I feel like if you just make something like this, that would probably be what I would do. And then if you swap it out with a normal throne doodad, you could kind of have him stand up and then spawn the unit, if like in theory if this is not a unit or something. But you know, this doesn't have animations really. It just has the animation of him sitting. So yeah, it's pretty much just up to you.